Hi, Ed. I smiled when I saw your name come up. It's been a while.
I would say a couple weeks,
At
probably.
least, at least.
We're gonna run and get slushy real quick. I gotta hurry up so that I can do. She's not even.
Marissa's getting slushies without us, guys.
Yay, I'm jealous. Okay. We are at 3 o'clock. Can allow one more minute for folks to join.
So fun seeing people filtering in. I'm seeing names I recognize and new names.
Yes, very exciting. I'm thrilled. Okay, I think we can go ahead and get started. I'll go ahead and start with the introductions. Hello and good afternoon. On behalf of the Oregon Project Management Advisory Board, welcome to our Project Management User Group presentation of the month. My name is Amy Croucher, your coordinator for 2023, and will be facilitating our meeting today. We'd like to start with a few housekeeping items. Please mute your phone or PC if not speaking to help reduce any background noise. If you are not speaking, you are encouraged to remain off camera, as you may have noticed this meeting is being recorded. If you have any questions, please wait until the end of the presentation to raise your hand. And I'm happy to announce we are currently recruiting for 2 positions on the statewide Project Management Advisory Board. A link to the description of the board is in the chat. And when you select the link on the website, you'll scroll down to the links on the bottom of the page and select the link to joining the board. Also, if you're interested in business analyst processes, the Business Analyst Networking Group meets the 3rd Wednesday during months in which PMUG does not meet. For more information, visit the BANG website posted in the chat. This meeting will be recorded and a link to the meeting resources will be shared shortly after today's session and posted on DAS's YouTube channel. You're welcome to share with your other colleagues and encouraged to spread the word on our PMUG Wednesday sessions. So without further ado, I am pleased to host this session presented by Katie McCarthy, who will share some helpful information on organizational change management as it relates to project management. Katie is someone you can count on to have a smile. She is fun, empathetic, and enjoys helping others succeed. She's currently working as a senior technical project manager supporting Oregon Department of Human Services and Oregon Health Authority for the Office of Information Services. She has her project MP, her MBA, and is certified as a ProSci change practitioner. The majority of Katie's career has been in IT project management. She has worked both in the private and public sector. Katie is working toward her ACMP certification to further prepare herself to help lead the way change works. And without further ado, go ahead, Katie.
Thanks, Amy. It's as I was saying, as everyone was joining, it's so great to see so many people on here. I'm excited to be part of and sharing in this mutual learning and growth experience with y'all. So, Amy introduced me professionally. I'd like to let you get to know me more as a person. So first, yeah, Katie McCarthy, pronouns are she, her. Quick visual description, I'm a white woman with brown chinish length hair, glasses, dark dress, and I'm wearing a headset. So who is, let me get to my slides here. Maybe. Ooh, there we go. Who is Katie? Everyone who knows me knows I am an avid hiker and backpacker. I love to be out adventuring and exploring nature as often as I can, and therefore categorize myself as a weekend warrior, if you're familiar with the term. If we were in person, which kind of makes me sad we aren't, but it's okay, you would be able to tell visibly that I am pregnant. I'm due with my first, a baby boy, in August. In regards to my growing up, I was the middle of 5 children. I have been told I have middle child syndrome, whatever that means. Take that however you want to. I am married. I've been married for 15 years as of last week. I just got back from a 15-year anniversary trip. Oh, thank you, Jamie. My husband is the handsome fellow with the beard on the bottom left. His name is Eric, the water resources engineer. And then we have 2 fur babies. They're the cats in the picture. The one on the left, the calico, is Kepler, and the tabby on the right is Milford. They don't always get along that well. Kepler's kind of a bully, and therefore Milford, or Millie, is very needy. But, you know, I love them, and they might show up because I can't really lock them out. Otherwise, they'll scratch my door. So, all right, that is me as a person. Just wanted to kind of let you know who I am beyond my professional experience, so that way you have a personality with the content. Okay. Before I jump into the real content, I like to go into group agreements. This is usually leveraged with more sensitive conversations, but I find that in certain meetings and educational settings, going through and having these helps set a mindset, right? Helps get the mood. So I'll quickly go through these. Hopefully we can all agree and then move forward. So listen for understanding, safe space. For some of you, this may be brand new content. For some of you, you may already have certifications and have a lot of experience in OCM, so maybe this is a refresher. The goal here is to make this a safe place for everyone, no matter their experience or background, to have a safe place to learn. So create that environment where people have the space to feel confused but ask questions, right? Then lean into discomfort and brave space. Again, this might be new content. Sometimes learning new things, we feel some cognitive dissonance, right? Things have always worked this way. It's fine. Why are we adding new stuff, etc. If you are feeling that discomfort, I want you to lean into that. I want you to investigate it, see what's prompting it, why you're having it. Be brave and face it. Next, wait. Why am I talking? Why aren't I talking? This is in reference to participation. Perhaps you are someone who comments, participates regularly, is very talkative. Thank you first. We need that participation, so thank you. And keep in mind, everyone has valid experiences and input and ideas. Let's try not to impact others' opportunities to comment or participate. Also, why aren't I talking? Again, you have valid comments, valid ideas, valid experience. I would love to hear your thoughts as we go through this. So don't be afraid to speak up. This is a safe space, as we said. And then, of course, maintain respectful engagement. We're adults. We know how to do that. And then, as always, have fun. Yes, this is a SIMI lecture where we're talking about project management and organizational change management. Still can be fun. We can make it fun. So those are my group agreements. Unless I hear a big yell that you can't participate, I will move forward. Okay, cool. I'm assuming that was a yes. Okay, so my objectives for today are to discuss how project management and organizational change management relate and can integrate, as well as identify the benefits of integration of the disciplines. Throughout this, you will have opportunities to write things down, or at least I will encourage you to write things down for activities and things. So I would ask at this time that you either grab a pen and paper or pull up a Word document. Of course, you're only pulling up a Word document, not your chat or anything, right? We're not multitasking. Just kidding. I get it. You do you. So yeah, pull up something that you can tinker on. And as you're pulling that up, I will encourage you to think on what your learning expectations or goals are or objectives are for this session. Help set your mindset, know what you want to get out of this, and then we will move forward. Okay. Hopefully you will have a document. So we're going to start with an activity where we get to use that document. The personal change assessment. Quick little background and aside, the majority of my OCM experience and training is with ProSci. So while I'm aware of other methodologies, practices, I will be leveraging, referencing ProSci practices, methodologies, etc. throughout this presentation. I would encourage you, however, if you're just now getting into organizational change management, or if you're expanding on your existing experience, to dig into everything else. There's a lot out there. There's McKinsey 7S model, and I could list a bunch, but I would just encourage you to do some Googling and find some other organizational change management practices and broaden that experience. Okay, so personal change assessment. So what this is going to do is prompt you to really think about a change that's going to be happening or that you're trying to elicit. And I'm going to have you respond to multiple prompts. They're quick, easy responses. And then we'll go back and analyze them. And then we'll leverage this later in the presentation. So the first one, I want you to briefly describe a personal change behavior you're trying to facilitate with a friend, family member, neighbor, or work associate. This might be the hardest one, so I'll give you a little bit more time. It can
Can
be
you
simple.
repeat it again?
Of course, and it's up on the slide as well. Briefly describe a personal change in behavior you're trying to facilitate with a friend, family member, neighbor, or work associate. Perhaps your neighbor keeps allowing their dog to dig under your fence and you'd like that to change. Perhaps you want your partner to take out the trash more. Maybe your coworker, you'd like them to file something differently. Simple little changes, but examples to get your mind going. Be a little bit longer. And be aware these slides will be distributed and the session recorded. So if you find that the time we go through this isn't enough for you to really mindfully play with it, you'll have the opportunity to play later. Okay, I'm assuming we have an idea of a personal change. Maybe there's not a lot of detail to it, but it exists. So let's look at that change now. So next prompt, I want you to list the reasons you believe this change is necessary. Why do you need this change to happen? Okay. I'm hoping you have at least one. Again, you'll have more time later or at the end of the session, I'll try to give you a little bit more time too if you need to round things out. So we've described a personal change we're trying to elicit, and we've listed the reasons why we need it to happen, why it's necessary. Next prompt, excuse me, I want you to list the factors or consequences, good and bad, for this person that create a desire to change. What reasons would they desire to change? All right. Now I want you to list the skills and knowledge needed for the change, both during and after the transition. Sometimes the skill needed during the change are different than what's needed after to maintain the change. Okay. I know I'm going fast. Yeah, as I said, I'll give you a little bit more time. Thank you, everyone. All right. Next, considering those skills and knowledge that we just went through in prompt 4, I want you to evaluate the person's ability to perform or act in the new way. Are there any barriers inhibiting the person's ability? Maybe your neighbor doesn't know how to train their dog. I would hope that your partner knows how to take out the trash, though. All right. Now, list the reinforcements that will help to retain that change. Are there incentives in place to help this person make the change stick? Are there incentives not to change? Now we're going to go back and do a quick analysis of these, but I'm going to give you a little bit longer just to round things out if there's others you wanted to add a little bit of detail to or finish up. If you need me to reread any of them, let me know. Okay. All right, now we're going to go back and review these. So we're looking at the prompts related to the personal change where we're trying to facilitate, right? So looking at number 2, the reasons you believe this change is necessary, I want you to review the reasons and ask yourself the degree to which the person you're trying to change is aware of these reasons. And then rank that on a 1 to 5 scale. 1, they don't know the reasons at all. 5, they know all about it.
Hey, Kate, Sunil here. Could you repeat what you just said?
Yeah, of course.
Thanks.
So review the reasons you listed in prompt number 2. So the reasons you believe this change is necessary. And I want you to ask yourself the degree to which the person you're trying to change is aware of the reasons you listed. And then I want you to rank that on a 1 to 5 scale. 1 meaning they don't have knowledge of it or very little. 5 meaning they have, they're aware of the reasons. Okay. All right. Excuse me. Now, looking at the prompt for number 3, right, we listed the factors or consequences for this person that created desire. I want you to consider those factors, including the person's conviction in these areas. I want you to assess their desire to change and rank that on 1 to 5 scale. So we're assessing their desire to change based on the motivating factors you listed. Okay. We're now looking at the knowledge and training, the knowledge and skills, right? So I want you to rate the person's knowledge or training in the areas that you listed for the knowledge and skills needed for the change and rank that on a 1 to 5 scale. Okay. Now we're looking at ability. To what extent does the person have the ability to implement the new skills, knowledge, and behaviors? Rank on a scale of 1 to 5. Okay. And regarding the reinforcements, last one, To what degree is the person receiving reinforcement for demonstrating the change? Rank on a 1 to 5 scale. Alrighty. Now we will go through and discuss this assessment more in depth. I mean, the reasoning behind it. There's a fun acronym that goes with it, so you can learn more about OCM methodology, etc. But before we dive into more of the content, does anyone want to share any observations they had while they were writing these responses to the prompts and then analyzing their responses?
Sure, I can share an observation. I think I became more aware of um, potential lack of knowledge or awareness of using the tool needed
Nice.
to exhibit the change.
Yeah, it's interesting what sometimes thinking about it just from a different perspective brings that different awareness to yourself and
Right.
to the person you're trying to change. Nice.
Right.
Thank you, Amy. Alrighty, so let me get back to my slides. Okay, so let's jump into more of what project management is versus organizational change management. I will be using OCM for organizational change management throughout this presentation because the other is a mouthful. So just preparing you all for that. As this is a project management user group, I'm assuming the majority of us have familiarity with project management, but I started with project management just to ensure that those of us without all the experience or context have a very high level idea of what these methodologies are. So project management, especially in looking at it from the OCM side, it's the process side of change. Project managers like to look at the project triangle. We like to focus on that schedule, budget, scope, quality. We're gathering data. We're focused on what, when, how. We break that into activities, which we break into functions, and then build a content. So we're really focusing on and delivering, well, on delivering successfully, getting to that future state by breaking out the tasks. Yes, it's a lot more complicated than that, but at a high level, we're breaking down what our future state needs to look like to get to it. We have a standard set of phases as per PMI, Project Management Institute. We go through from initiation, plan and design, execute, monitor, control, close. Those are phases through the project that get us from coming up with the idea of the project, building on it, executing it, monitoring it throughout, and closing the project. Project management. So what is OCM at a high level as well, or organizational change management? Organizational change management is the people side of change. Yes, there's processes associated with it, but it's really focused on adoption. Excuse me, it's focused on why the change is happening, who is being impacted, what's in it for the people that are being impacted, how they're being impacted, etc. A phrase that is commonly associated with OCM is head, heart, and hands. Do they know what's happening? Are they aware? Or do they have the knowledge and ability? Do they have the desire? And can they do it, right? Can they use their hands? Do they have the skills and ability to do it? There are phases associated with OCM as well. Listed out here, there are a couple ways to actually, that you'll see in the practice listed out, but I'll go through that. So there's prepare for change, plan and design the change, execute the change, and then reinforce the change. You'll often see plan and design and execute, those two phases listed together as manage the change. Both work and are acceptable. So just like project management, there's phases that they go through. I'll bring them together later so you see them side by side. But those two slides give you an idea of high level of what project management is and organizational change organizational change management is. That is such a mouthful. Just like project management, OCM faces obstacles, right? And a lot of them are actually very similar to project management. A key factor in the success of a project or a change is executive support and active sponsorship, right? That's a huge one for OCM and for project management. If you don't have that active, visible person willing to have those conversations, make those decisions, make those resources available, then it will cause issues, if not lead to failure, right? Other things, poor planning, of course. We're project managers, or at least most of us are, or we're familiar with it. If you don't plan it, it won't go to plan. Lack of skills, lack of communication, insufficient resources. We all know that. Fun working for the state. Lack of buy-in is a big one with OCM and sometimes with project management. It depends on how you approach project management, but understanding the why really impacts the motivation behind individuals to participate in the project. And then a change-resistant culture and attitude. Say that the organization has been going through a lot of changes and they are just burnt out. So a lot of obstacles, just like project management. You just have to work through those. So let me bring them side by side so you can kind of get a better view of them together. Very, very similar in some things, very different in other things. They both move from current state to future state with that transition state, that very pivotal transition. You've got our project management. We're focusing on the technical side, not necessarily the technological, just technical. We've got our processes, and then we've got OCM, which is the people side. Both have their processes or their life cycles, the initiating through closing with project management, preparing through reinforcement with OCM. OCM has an additional process they go through with individual, which is ADCAR. It's a handy little acronym that I kind of inferred to. What's the word I'm looking for there? I implied earlier in the presentation. We'll get to that. And then both have standard artifacts or tools, deliverables. We've got statement of work, charter, budget estimations, documents and items that you're all familiar with for project management. With OCM, we have some more fun ones. There's individual change model, readiness assessment, determining whether the organization is ready for the change, whether the people performing the project or the change are ready for that, right? Sponsor roadmaps, coaching plans, and so forth. So both moving from current to future with their processes and their documents. So we have a high level understanding of what project management is and organizational change management, how they both deal with issues. But let's kind of talk about how maybe there's gaps that they could fill for each other, right? Why are they insufficient alone, or how could they be better together? Project management without just OCM has existed for a while, and it's been effective, right? We have maybe not we personally, but we've launched software, we've sent people to space, we've built structures. Project management exists and functions, and it's great. It focuses on deliverables and installation. It gets things done. We get our events and timelines worked out. We're driving that solution. We are following a project management life cycle, but we're lacking a bit of change readiness. We're not looking at individuals and whether they have the desire, the knowledge, the ability to move through that transitional state and maintain it. Maybe we aren't managing our resistance as well as we could have. Yes, we're managing and understanding the power and influence of our stakeholders, of our interested parties. But we're not managing or dealing with bad behavior in a way on our projects. and there's the option for insufficient stability during change. OCM, they're great, right? We want to focus on that adoption. If we build a person's motivation to participate and be active in a project and see what's in it for them, see the value, then the change in the project will be more successful. But there with OCM, there's that less PM triangle, less PM rigor. We're not going to have the same level of governance just because that's not the same processes, things like that. So you can see how while both moving to a future state, they're aiming for different outcomes. Sometimes, I mean, it's contradictory almost. But if we were to bring them together, they could solve some things for each other, right? There would be benefits of integration. It is 3:33. I think I have time for this. So let's see if I can get this going. It's a little video just kind of talking about our content right now that we've been discussing, but it's in a fun little art draw way, and I wanted to share it with you. So let's see if I can get it going. I shared with my, oh, did I share with my volume? Of course, now I have enough time, but am I gonna take too long doing this to make it work? I think I shared with the sound of my monitors. I'm going to push play. Amy, can you let me know if you can't hear this? Thank you.
I'll let you know. Can't hear anything yet.
You don't hear anything yet? Okay.
No.
You should. So let me just reshare really fast. I'll go fast.
Okay, thank you.
Share. There we go. And let's try that again. Okay.
Projects, project management and change management both play an important role in achieving success. However, it can sometimes be a little confusing trying to separate the two. They both involve managing relationships, planning and overseeing activities, and identifying and mitigating risks. So, what makes them different? Project management is the application of knowledge, skills, tools and techniques to activities to ensure project requirements are met. Project managers typically initiate, plan and deliver the project and often use a methodology or structured approach to achieve the desired outcome. More specifically, a project manager focuses on project activities, outputs, outcomes and benefits, solution design ensuring project requirements are met, and the progress of works and management of time, scope, budget and quality. From a project manager's point of view, a project is considered to be a success if it has been delivered to scope, time and budget and is technically accepted by the business. But what happens if a project is delivered successfully and the benefits are not adopted and realized by the business? This is where change management comes into play. Change management focuses on the optimal adoption of new practices by those impacted by projects or programs of work. In a project environment, change managers typically use their deep understanding of the psychology of change, specialist tools and frameworks to design the human change process. Alongside the project manager, the team, and in consultation with the business, they also plan and advise how to integrate the project outcomes into the organization. More specifically, a change manager focuses on who the stakeholders are, such as employees and customers, the context into which the change is being delivered, communication, engagement and adoption, skills and capability development, including leadership coaching and ownership, and change readiness to ensure the change is sustained and sticks. Unlike project management, a change manager's success is measured on the realization of benefits and the adoption of the new ways of working. Can a project manager also manage the change elements? Yes and no. It really depends on the size and nature of the change. The integration of change management and project management creates value, and together provide a unified approach for achieving the desired results and outcomes of organizational change. To help you on your change journey, connect with the change.
All right. Yeah, just a fun little video that really goes over a lot of what we did, but said a little differently and with art. So it doesn't help to have, let you know what I'm telling you, see it from another perspective, and then we'll recap what I told you at the end. So, okay, so benefits of integration. Obviously, I mean, we've talked about how there's some gaps or things lacking with them on their own. I have broken out some of the benefits of integration into categories so that you can see this as a high level. There are much more. There's a lot of studies and things out there. Welcome to share resources if you're interested. But I've provided some for that high level idea. So first, let's talk about, if it'll go to the next slide. There we go. Benefits in leadership. So project management, we're establishing the roles and responsibilities, right? You're our sponsor, you're our exec sponsor. This is what we're expecting of each other, establishing that framework for engagement, and we're informing on progress. With OCM Incorporated, not only are we establishing those roles, but we're preparing the sponsor for their role. We are empowering the sponsor to know how to do their role and when we need them. We're providing content and activities for them, and we're checking bad behavior, right? So it's really just helping our sponsors or our leadership on the project be what we need them to be. Yes, a lot of them, they're in leadership positions, they have the experience, they have the knowledge, but we're managing a specific project and we need a specific type of sponsor, a specific type of leader, and we can help provide that empowerment for them. Next. Excuse me, benefits in communication. There's actually a lot with integration of PM and OCM. As I've discussed, PM, we're looking at the facts. We want to set expectations, address actions, outcomes, and share information. We want to make sure that we are setting expectations with the right people at the right time. With bringing in OCM, there's more than just setting expectations. There's awareness. There's building that desire, right? The OCM manager is emphasizing the why. It's building a vision for everyone who's involved, everyone who's impacted, so that they understand what's in it for them, so that they're more motivated to participate and help the project go through in an effective, efficient way. Change managers are addressing and eliciting or encouraging behaviors, right? Creating that motivation, ensuring that knowledge, that ability, and providing a conduit for participation and change. I mean, yes. So I provided a quick little example of some of the communications that we do. So say it's initiation. As a project manager, I want to announce my project. I want to include my objectives. This is my estimated timeline. This is my budget. These are my resources. This is my scope and what it entails and what it doesn't entail. I'm setting expectations with my interested parties. Bringing in OCM, we're also communicating what's changing, why it's changing, risk of not changing. And this is not only going to those interested parties, but the impacted people and building that awareness, right? So it's encouraging a broader, more holistic form of communication to ensure that we're bringing everyone together through that transition state effectively. And then there's a couple other examples on there for reference. I won't read them out to you as they're on the slides, but just setting that broader communication. So benefits in leadership, benefits in communication. There's also benefits in interested parties management. AKA or previously known as stakeholders management. Project management, we're assessing the power relationships. Who has power, who has influence? How do we engage them appropriately, at what time, in what way? We plan and we manage the risk associated with that. Integrating OCM, we are looking at the organization as a whole to ensure that everyone who's impacted moves through the transition. We're also checking for bad behavior or resistance. We're looking at people as individuals, understanding their ability, their knowledge, their desire, and reinforcement. So those are just 3 categories. Obviously, there's a lot more within project management, within OCM, but it gives you an intro into the idea of the number and quality of benefits of integrating these 2 topics. So let's look at a quick timeline or life cycle of these and how they would integrate. We've got initiating through closing, the project management life cycle, and broken out, there's some of the standard deliverables there. You'll see sponsor agreement, business case, charter, execute, we've got testing, design docs. Through closing, we've got our lessons learned. You'll see below our OCM phases broken out. We've got our preparing for change, which includes things like the OCM plan and assessments. Assessments are, where we're determining whether our sponsor is aware of how they're supposed to perform their role, as well as determining whether the organization is ready for this type of change, and so forth. And that happens within initiation and into the planning phase for project management. Then we move into managing the change, or that plan and design and execute, right? They're merged in here. And that moves from planning through monitoring control in the project life cycle. Within monitoring that change, we're performing that resistance management. We are coming up with that training plan, understanding what would need to be reinforced at that time, understanding who our change agents are so that we can leverage their influence and knowledge and building desire externally and so forth. And then we've got reinforcing the change, which happens through monitoring, control, and close, where we're doing that additional training and doing go live support. So you'll see that, they work in conjunction. The goal is to ensure that all impacted go through this change. No matter the project or program type, there is a direct or indirect impact on the organization, either implementing or receiving the result. So at its core, OCM is about managing the change that is the result of the project or program. OCM helps projects to proceed smoothly and are going to be well received. Okay. So we've talked about OCM, we've talked about project management, how they both face struggles, ways that they are lacking on their own, benefits of integration. And another way to look at this, or a reason why integration would be beneficial, is maybe we look at the risks of not managing that change, or the consequences of not managing that change, which we've seen. And there's actually quite a few studies on. Again, I'd be willing to share if you're interested. Project delays, rework required on design. Maybe without the change OCM side of things integrated into the project, we're not looking at individuals' ability to move through that transitional state, and therefore we don't have all the requirements adequately documented, or even all the requirements that we need. So there's rework or delay. Us versus them is a big one. I see that. I've seen that a lot in my role at OAS. We support 2 agencies, business sides, right? And we are the IT side coming in as project managers, telling them what they have to do. We disagree with that. Obviously, our goal is to work with them as a team to be successful together, right? To support Oregonians. But without that OCM side, that happens. Us versus them happens a lot. We're not building that vision together. Understanding that we all have the desire, building that reinforcement, the knowledge, so that we can work together. There may be more resistance because, again, we're not looking at the personal side, reduction in productivity because of that. and ultimately, potentially, projects failing because there's too much resistance, or the sponsor isn't providing enough resources or something like that. So unfortunately, consequences, but again, another reason to integrate those methodologies and practices. So we've talked about a lot. We've talked about project management versus organizational change management, how they both struggle and lack certain things, and how together they could benefit, and how not integrating may have consequences. Now I want to do just a quick intro more into the methodology or the practice and theories for you, so that you can better understand some of the basic core concepts behind OCM and know how to jump into it from here. So you will need your personal change assessment that we did at the beginning of the presentation, and we're going to jump in. So ProSize ADKAR model. Don't do the QR code yet. I was covering it with my hand, but you don't see me doing that. Don't do that yet. That will be in a second. The ADKAR model is a simple, yes, it's another acronym. I'm sorry, guys. It's another one. You get another one, ADKAR. It's a very simple, easy way to remember the underlying components of moving someone or an organization through change. ADKAR. A is for awareness. Awareness of the need for change. D, desire. Desire to participate and support the change. K, knowledge. Knowledge on how to change. A, ability. Ability to implement desired skills and behaviors. R, reinforcement. Reinforcement to sustain the change. These probably sound a little familiar with in regards to our personal change assessment that we did earlier. So thinking of these components, which component do you think is hardest to achieve? That's what that survey is. So if you have access to using the QR code, cool. I should have just done it as a survey through PowerPoint, but I didn't think to do that in advance. If you need the code, I also have pasted it, not the code, the link instead of the QR code. I posted it in chat. And I will pull it up so that we can see the results come in. Maybe. Ooh, we've already got one response.
Can you go back to the QR code one more time? Sorry.
Yes, I'm sorry. There you go. Okay, I'm going to assume that was enough time. I'll just give you a little bit longer, but getting good responses. Thank you, everyone, for participating. "23 responses. We have 54 on the call. Need a few more. I see a trend. Okay. The responses are getting slower, excuse me, but we can see that the majority of people think it's desire. You are correct. Desire is the most difficult component to achieve. Who wants to guess why? Ooh, you are a vocal group.
Because we've always done it this way.
I've always done it this way. No one likes change, lack of motivation.
People hate change. Absolutely.
change.
Especially technical people.
Yeah, right. Comfortable in their
Yeah.
rut. Change is hard. So go ahead.
We are happy with what we are doing.
Yeah. Yeah. So ultimately, it's the person's individual choice, right? It's up to them whether they want to participate and support the change. We have no control over them wanting to do something. We can make them aware of it. We can tell them that there's this great amount of value that's coming to them if they make this change, make sure they have the ability. But in the end, yeah, it's about whether they want to. So fun. That's the hardest component, but you know what? Sometimes it just moves through if the value's obvious enough, things like that. There's tips and tricks for that I would definitely encourage as you dig into OCM to dig into more. But before we only have a couple more minutes, so let me build a little bit more on this ADKAR model so that you have a way to kind of apply this a little bit more other than just understanding ADKAR. So using your personal change assessment and looking at the ranking from 1 to 5, I want you to, if it'll go to the next slide, either draw this out on your little document or you should be able to interact with this PowerPoint and make stars and things. If not, I think you should. But I want you to rank them, right? So you've got awareness, you ranked it, say you ranked it at a 1. They're not aware at all, mark that there. And then go from left to right, indicating how you scored each one. I'll give you a second to do that. I'm not seeing interactions on the PowerPoint, so I'm assuming that that's not working. Okay. All right, so now moving left to right, awareness to reinforcements, following the ADKAR acronym. I want you to find or identify the component, the first component that you marked at a 3 or less. That is the barrier point for this person that you're trying to facilitate a change with. That is the component that you need to determine a way to proceed through or influence this person to pass through to be able to successfully adopt the change. So that gives you an idea of the core concepts behind OCM. I mean, very, very underlying core, right? We're looking at ADKAR, we're looking at individuals or organizational's ability, awareness, etc., through the changes. And then we're identifying where they're really stuck and how we're going to move through that. Okay. As I said, we've talked about a lot. Some of it very high level, but we covered how project management and organizational change management relate and integrate, benefits of that, risks of not managing that change, gaps they have without integration, and then a quick intro into some of the underlying concepts for change management. I would encourage you to check your own learning objective for today, see if it was answered or if you feel it was resolved. If not, you're welcome to reach out to me separately and we can work through that. Are there any questions? Diane.
Hello.
Hello.
So I don't know if I missed it, but are you assuming that or anticipating that all projects will be organizational change of some sort? Or will there be some that there is no requirement for OCM to be involved? I do several coordination efforts that are annual, and I don't see how they're org change management.
Yeah.
So that's my question.
Yeah, that's a great question. It may be that your project or initiative doesn't cause an impact that or a change that will impact people's day-to-day or processes or anything. It's literally just maybe updating something that's on the back end that nobody sees. I would imagine that wouldn't require it, but yeah, there's definitely ways that if it impacts anyone in a way that changes their process or anything, then there's a small level, right? So you just want to
Right.
look at the impact.
Right. So we just got done with Oregon Buys,
Mm.
e-procurement. Woohoo! And that would have been good to have because that is definitely a change in the system that impacts quite a few people. So anyway, thank you for this. It was very good to hear this and see the wave of the future and where we're going. So appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions? I guess I explained it just super well. Okay. I do have references at the end of my slides that you'll see. And I will make sure to include I'll hand this over to Amy and I'll include my contact information in the chat so that you have that if you want to reach out. But thank you all. Thank you for your participation, for being here, for allowing me to be part of this, as I said, this mutual growth opportunity. So have a fabulous day. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Katie. We're getting lots of responses. Thanking you for everything. So I'm going to place in the chat a little survey. Okay. So for everyone, we hope that you've enjoyed this presentation. Thank you for attending. I've posted a link to a short survey in the chat that will help us improve future PMUG experiences. You can look for a follow-up email with links to resources after the meeting. We'll also be posting some feedback forms, including one you can fill out to nominate yourself or a colleague as a future presenter. And please share with your team members and those who may not be on the PMUG listserv to reach out to chro.trainings@das.or.us to be added to the PMUG listserv. Again, if you're interested in joining the Project Management Advisory Board or learning more about business analyst processes, visit the OPMAB or BANG websites. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we will see you again in July.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.